Hey, welcome back to another episode of A Warrior Spirit, where we let the inner warrior shine in their light. Today, I have Lyn Rosario. She's a realtor, actress, podcast creator, and hostess. She's a horse enthusiast and an animal lover, and just an all-around delight. And I'm so pleased to have you, Laura. Thank you for joining me today. Appreciate it.
You are very welcome, Daryl, and it's a pleasure, of course.
So, Laura, with all of these creative things that you are. Where did you get your beginning? Where did you start? Where did you grow up?
Oh, okay. So I had like a very fun, um, exciting type of upbringing. Like I didn't have just the regular one that everybody else that like the usual background. Okay, I did grow up. I was born and raised in West Los Angeles,
Okay.
and being a Cali girl has so many benefits because it was like a melting pot. You get to meet, like, depending on what area you're in, like all like many ethnicities as well as religions. I grew up around Fairfax and Pico. So in that area, there's just a lot going on. So because you're close to the beach. So like growing up, if you wanted to take the bus, which we did quite often, even as kids, we were able to take a bus right down Pico and be at the beach in like what 20 minutes or so. Not now because there's so much traffic, but back then, yes. And then I was minutes away from Hollywood. That was actually one of our rival schools because I was Fairfax High School and Hollywood was our rival. And then you're close to Beverly Hills. So there was a lot of action going on. And then on top of all of that, some of my relatives were in show business. Well, my aunt was an actress and a beautiful model, like Miss Bronze California. She was that. And then my mom was singing a little bit, and so was my aunt. And then as they got out of that, they were modeling and things like that. So having that sort of fun, creative parents and relatives, there was always a lot going on. And then I actually, let me see, when I was about 10, my mom, at that time, she was a flight attendant because she was a businesswoman. She was really good with math, very good with her accounting. And then she also was a model. And then later she became a flight attendant for Continental Airlines. And then around that time, I was probably like 10 when she met Tommy Davis of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he was actually playing at the time. And he actually, this bracelet right here, I've worn since I was 10 years old. I take it off when I had to have, when I had surgeries for the babies, I had C-sections, I took it off and I then always will replace it. And the reason is Tommy, when he was dating my mom, bought one to my sister and one for me. You know how like when men are dating and they
Yeah.
want to, make the woman really like
Yes.
more, they're going to try to, make the children like them more. And so this was the first. And so, like I said, I've had this now, I guess, for 50 years. And yeah,
Wow.
and it just means a lot to me. It's just a total treasure. So
That's so cool.
So, seeing Tommy play on TV, and that was really cool. And then we got to go to, all the Dodgers games and things like that. And then when he wasn't with the Dodgers, he was still a pinch hitter. So we were just always doing fun things. And I have so much to say, Daryl. You can stop me at any time. So
That's all right. It's like I wound you up and let you go.
okay. So then next we come into the 80s. In the 80s, I started modeling. I started a modeling career. I
So how
lived
old were you? How old were you?
I was 18. At
18. Okay.
18, okay, so at 17, my family moved to a small area that's now more known. It was Rancho Cucamonga. So in the
Oh,
80s, it wasn't even known at all. It was like, Rancho what? Whenever you'd say
right.
anything to operate or anything, everybody's like, what? That's not a real place. No one even
Yeah.
believed Rancho Cucamonga existed till that movie Fridays came out. But
Yeah.
before that, it was just what? But it was a lot, it was expansive. There was a lot of growth there, and my mom owned a triplex, so she sold the triplex and with some of the funds bought the brand new house for, in Rancho Cucamonga, Altaloma. And so we lived up on a hill, and because the difference between Rancho Cucamonga and Los Angeles at that time was great. There was a great difference. It was slower. it wasn't the melting pot I was used to. It was more segregated. I think in my class at Altaloma High School, which I graduated from, there was probably only about, probably in my mind, there's more than this, but in my mind, it seems like maybe 100 or so Black Americans there, Black people, Black kids actually. But I actually got to be on the court. I was nominated as a princess, as a homecoming princess, which was fun. But when I was 18 in May of 1982, I decided, I want to go back to LA. So my sister, older sister Kelly, she lived in LA with my dad. So I moved in there and then just kind of went wild, Daryl. I think now that at the time I didn't know it, but I'm very similar to my mom. Her name is Carol Davis, by the way. She's beautiful. And looks like she's just light and happy like me, which we are. But then we also have our wild side. So I started modeling. I got a manager, and then through that manager, she asked me, I had to go to this leather store in Beverly Hills. So I went over, just 18 years old, happy, whatever, go lucky. Go to the leather store. I meet the owner. His name was Charles Glenn. And just from chatting over a few minutes, he was like, are you working other than modeling? And I was like, no, I'm looking if you have something, if there's something that, you're offering. And he was like, well, I also manage a private nightclub in Beverly Hills called Voila. Would you like to be a hostess? And I was like, yeah. And so I was the first Black person that they probably even had in the whole place, but I just know definitely for a hostess, I was one of the first. I don't think there had any at that time, any Black bartenders or anybody. So I was the first Black person that they hired. So there the fast life began. He actually warned me. He said, no matter what, don't go out with the owners, don't party with the owners, don't party with the bartenders, don't talk to anybody, just do your job and then go. So of course, Daryl, if
Did the
anyone
opposite.
knows, exactly,
Yeah.
that's literally like a roadmap to do what he just said.
Yeah.
That's like saying, here, these are the things you should do. So of course, those are the things I did. So I won't go too far into that story because that's a whole movie on it for itself, because it was basically like Studio 54, but for Beverly Hills. So from that, I got married a few years later after I did all the wildlife and all that. I met somebody at it's a renowned place. It's called the Palace. And that's a well-known Hollywood iconic theater that they turned into a nightclub at that time. So that's where I met my ex-husband. And he was not in the party scene. He wasn't an actor or anything else. He had a regular life. And I think that's what drew me to him. He was more real in my mind. He was more real and treated me with more respect than the other people I was around.
Did you fall into the full-blown drugs and alcohol life of the bar life and the party life that Hollywood is kind of known for?
Of course, yes. Yes, that's a given. I did. And it's so weird because it came from out of nowhere. Before I moved out of my mom's house in Altaloma, I didn't smoke cigarettes. I didn't smoke weed. I had done zero drugs, zero, and had no inclination to even try any of those things. And how I got, what led me, the first thing was my boyfriend at the time, when I moved to California, to Los Angeles, I was 18, like I said. I was driving my car. I had like a red Ford Mustang, and but it was from it was 1964. It was a 64 Ford Mustang with a black top with a moon roof. My mom and Tommy bought it for me. So I was just driving down the street with my girlfriends and my sister, Kelly, and we saw this really cute guy in a black Mazda RX-7. And I was like, oh, he's cute. There's a white guy, black hair. Back then he had like those black car
driving gloves. Yeah.
Yes, and he had some really cool music just blasting. So then first we all just, waved to him. And then he waved, and then he kept going, and then I followed him, And then I lost track of him. So then my girlfriends are like, her name was Kenya. She was like, let's go to the left. And so we went to the left, and then we went to the right. And then I could see him like on the other lane, like side by side, but on a different street. So as I'm going this way, we're both going this way. Then he disappeared, and I didn't know he was coming towards me at that point. So when he came towards me, he knew it was me from like 2 blocks down. So he said, hi, didn't I see you back there? And I was like, yeah. So then I got out and we started talking, and the rest was history. We were together for 4 years after that, before I met my ex-husband. So he was a smoker. He smoked cigarettes, did weed. He did drugs, but it wasn't like, it was social. He wasn't like, at that point, none of us were doing it daily. It was more like, if he did coke, when I say drugs, it was coke. If he did coke, it was more, to go, like if he's out with his friends or something. So first I started smoking cigarettes, and that was only to hang out with him. Like he would come, we'd be at the house and he would say, oh, I'm gonna go smoke outside. And then, when you're just outside with someone and they're talking to you, then that's why he was like, do you want to try one? So that's how it started, with the cigarettes. So first it started with cigarettes. And then because he did smoke weed, that was the next thing. Well, do you want to try weed? And then when I did try weed, the first time we tried weed, and it was with him and my girlfriend Kenya, who had been in the car, and he brought over his good friend Mike, as a double date sort of thing. And this was we were still in the dating thing. We hadn't become boyfriend and girlfriend yet. We were probably like, this might have been our second or third date. So I hadn't smoked any weed yet, ever. And I didn't drink either. So he was like, okay, do you want some weed? Oh, do you want to try it? So I tried one hit and I was fine. The bad part came when he was like, here, have some beer. And this is a white guy from Beverly Hills. So don't ask me why he bought Old English 800. It could be that was all he did at the time, right? Because he was underage. He's my age. So we had that. Daryl, it's called crossfaded. It's called crossfaded is the term, is when if you're mixing alcohol with weed, because then it makes you like a zombie. I could literally not get up, Daryl. I literally was crawling to the next room. And they were like, what's
Wow.
I was like, I can't lift my legs. Because I couldn't. I felt like I was walking through mud. And so then after that, I was like, okay, I'm never going to do anything again. I'm never going to mix alcohol again with weed. I'm never going to do that. That didn't happen. It was more like my tolerance. I never had Old English though. That was like, okay, that I'll never do. That was so awful.
So you're going to blame it all on the beer. It was the brand of beer. Yeah. If he'd have had a better brand of beer, you could have walked. That's how you're going to handle that, right?
Exactly.
Let's try it take 2 with a different brand of beer and see if I can move my legs. That's the better.
Exactly.
Right.
So then as time progressed, just from hanging out, just doing more things with him, and I don't want to blame him because it was all up to me. I could have said no. So I'm not even at all saying, oh, that was Eric's fault. It was not. I could have said no.
But let me stop you right there, because you grew up on the streets of LA. You grew up where, as you said, it was a melting pot of everything. So prior to this white guy in his Mazda, you had been exposed to these things and you chose not to that entire time. So you can't tell me it wasn't Eric. because a kid on the streets of LA has their own choices, and you chose not to do it. But then because you liked this kid, now you chose to do it. So it was Eric.
Okay, that's true. If you think about it, because the thing is too, which I didn't mention, which you're making a good point, is my mom, remember I said she had the triplex, right? So we were in the top unit because she owned it. We were in the top one, the big one. So it encompassed the whole the whole house structure. Then there was a unit at the bottom, one, and then another unit in the back. She had her mom, which was my grandmother, Mom Vivian, we called her. And then my youngest aunt, which was my mom's youngest sister, her name is Yolanda. We called her Denise. She was they both lived in the bottom unit. Denise used to smoke weed. And me and my sister used to call her weedling, like weed head, like all the anything, because we were so against it. But she actually she was with Michael Turner, which is Ike Turner's son. So they were doing their own stuff. Like Michael would be playing his guitar, which I loved. I'd be like, play the guitar, and he would play the guitar because he was really, really good self-taught. He was self-taught from the genes from Ike, right? And so I actually have a cousin because from Mike and my aunt, who's Tiffany Turner, and her son Amari. The reason I'm mentioning this right now is because Amari he's on the spectrum, but as early as 2 years old, he was playing Guitar Hero like he was beating all my kids in Guitar Hero. It was so fun. But I digress. Now, my point was, you were right. I was around people that did not only weed, but did coke. But my aunt at that time, she didn't show us any of the coke. I didn't know she did coke because she was older. She just didn't have me around the coke. She didn't do that until I introduced her to Voila, the nightclub, and brought up my whole family down at that point. But, for me, when I say down, I don't mean down. I mean like learning experiences where we could have been killed, those type of things. But
So let me ask you, I'm gonna jump you for just a second.
Okay.
Because it's fascinating, and I want to make sure that the coke still isn't like hyper making you.
Yeah, I have always had this energy.
Yeah, but how does one go from avoiding it all to not being able to move their legs because they're crossed over to then deciding, you know what, maybe I should up the game and do some coke? And what was your first experience doing that?
Okay. Now another thing I didn't mention too was another reason I wasn't real. Okay. My biological dad, his name is Gilbert Noel Brooks, and he prefers Noel. He was also in the picture in my life. Like we would see him, on the weekend or whatever. And if I needed him, he's there in a minute. He was not an absentee father at all. And he happened to be a Los Angeles deputy sheriff sergeant.
Oh, great.
So
Thanksgiving must have been really great at your house. Pass the mashed potatoes, pass the coke. Let's all like.
And so I feel like he knew that there was something going on because he literally at one point took me out to lunch and he said, kiddo, because he would say kiddo, I know that you're doing things that are not healthy. Can you please stop doing these things? And my dad is very spiritual. I get most of my spiritual beliefs came from learning from him and things he would teach my sister and I, and my brother. I have a younger brother, Brandon. He's more like, if you ask me, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to push my stuff on you. When you're ready for it, you're going to receive it. He's that type. So even though he was a sergeant, that's how he even handled being a sergeant. He wasn't ever that gun toting, here we go, that. He's more like, I'm going to calm the situation with my presence first. And he's that type of person. And then if he couldn't calm it with his presence and just talking to the person, then he would escalate it. He was really in control like that. So he did notice that I was off the rails. But of course, because I was off the rails and in denial, I was like, what are you talking about? And see, my normal body has always been a stick figure. That's just me. I'm just that. That's what my body is shaped like. So it was even thinner, Daryl, because my normal, like back in the day, I'm 5'9". My normal body weight was probably around 120, and that's without drugs. That's just my weight. Like this is my weight at 60 with no exercise, zero, other than taking care of my horses, which means I want to exercise, Daryl, so I can be toned. But I'm one of those people that this is just my natural body size. So although I did have people saying, which was my dad, like there's something going on, you need to stop doing what you're doing, I was in denial. So, and to answer your other question, how did I go? I feel like the first time I tried coke, I'm trying to think, it seems like it was Eric or my other girlfriend, Nicole. And Nicole is one of my lifetime best friends. Like I've known her since I was 5. She was in my sister's grade, but she had skipped a grade. So she's in between my age. She's older than me, but younger than my older sister. So we always got along. And so when I think she had already known I did smoked weed, and so she might have said, "Do you want to try it?" And not like she was a cokehead, because I ended up doing coke more often than her after that. So it was either her or Eric. I can't remember which of the two, because they came around the same time. So that's what started it. And then the lifestyle of working at the nightclub and then not doing what Charles Glenn told me to do. And also another note too, is I ended up moving in with him on Lookout Mountain in Hollywood Hills. And he was a total gentleman, by the way. He never asked for sex. He never tried anything sexual. He was a French guy. I think he just liked having, beautiful women around. Not saying that I'm one of the beautiful ones, but he liked having beautiful women or girls, my age or models around. And he never even, and I don't think he was gay. He could have been, but he never tried anything. He literally was like, okay, you can stay here. You're working at the club. I'll be able to take you to and from. So we'll be driving. And he had an Excalibur. Do you know what kind of car that is? It's a model, a roadster of some sort. It's Excalibur. And we would drive down the windy roads. And one of his favorite songs was by an Elton John song. And I would be happy and going down there until like we go to work. And he left, he got to leave early, or then it closed. And of course, then I'd be out at the party, get away home. I don't even remember Daryl how I even would get home, but I always got home, and then start the next day, do it all over again. Until
so
go on.
How long did you go from this chaotic life to pulling yourself out of it? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and into, because you ventured off into better things.
Yes.
I mean,
mm-hmm.
So
I didn't stay in. That's why that's why I think that and I was talking to Azia, she's the other host, and my cousin, and she's like a sister because we're only 2 months apart and we grew up like sisters anyway. I was like, for drug abuse and alcohol abuse, it's about how how it affects each person at a cellular level, which is why some people like her and I both can just say at some point in time, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's what I did. After my dad had said something's going on, I still was in denial. So it wasn't as soon as that, but probably I want to say, let's see, I met Tony at 22. That's my ex-husband. I met him at 22. So it started dwindling out before that. So I want to say maybe 2 years. So not that long, but it's still enough to get like a constant habit going.
Right. But also out long enough that you realize, not for me. And like a lot of people who are in drug and alcohol, sex areas, once they step away from that, their circle kind of steps away too. So did your circle move with you out of it, or did you move away from your circle?
That's a very good question, because I actually moved away from the circle, but then which also took me away from Azia, which was sad for her and me. And I just recently talked to her about it because I felt like I deserted her, but I felt at that time I had to save myself. I couldn't save anybody. Even at that young age, I felt like I have to save Laura. And because it just wasn't bringing me joy anymore. It was because if you've ever done coke, it's such a high. When you're not high, you're sad because it's a mood elevator. And when you come down, you crash. So you crash to either sleep, and then when you wake up, you're sad or moody or whatever until you get another line. So I think I just literally got sick of that. But Daryl, my dog is too hot outside. I'm sorry. I just saw that she was out there. Can I just get
do what you want to? Yeah, do what you need to.
Okay. So she was knocking on it instead.
No worries. We paused the recording while you did that. So we're back. We're good. Okay. But I am curious because with my background and where I've grown up, I haven't done the hard drugs, and I haven't done all of that. Hi, buddy.
Sorry.
It's a special guest.
Yes, it is.
But I've been around enough people who have to know that, like I said, your circle changes.
Oh, that's
and you either leave them behind or eventually they change too and they come along with you for the recovery. But I also know that you have to replace that habit and activity with something else.
Mhm, mhm.
So what did you replace it with to continue to stay out of it?
Okay, I'm trying to think because I still probably, I smoked weed because I smoked weed now because I stopped smoking weed for many, many years. And then when it got legal, when my mom needed it for some pain in her leg, then that's when I was like, oh, try it. And so then I became socially, I started smoking again now, this late age, and it helped. And I'm not saying it's going to help everybody, but when I was going through that really bad the darker time for me a few years ago, I asked my son, I said, did you notice anything different? Like, how was I acting? What did you perceive? And his first thing was that you smoked weed more often than you used to. And I said, okay, that's true. I did. I was numbing myself to get through it. And like I said, I'm not suggesting that for other people. I'm just saying that was one of the tools that I used to help to pivot. Okay. And then what was the other question? Because I digressed.
Oh, that's okay. I was just asking how you stepped away from your circle if you
Oh,
noticed
okay.
that you stepped away.
Okay. So when I did step away, when I went back home, and since at my home in Alta Loma, there's nobody there doing any of those things. It was my mom and Tommy, and then my younger sister Morgana. So if I wanted to do any of those things, I had to go all the way to to LA, or I could go to Ontario and do that with my aunt. So once in a while, I was still doing it, but not before. When I was in the scene, it was every night, Daryl. It was every night. It was the whole thing was go to work at voila, go to a party till the next day, wake up the next day, which is in the afternoon, get dressed, go back to the nightclub to work as a hostess. And then on the nights I was off, because I was off 2 nights, on the nights I was off, then I would just still be at the nightclub. You know, my off days were at the nightclub. If not that one, just any of the well-known nightclubs around, because when you're a hostess or work at a club like that, everybody sees you. So I had carte blanche to go into any of the like the really fun clubs, like because they see me as a hostess at a really popular one. So it was easy to get into different places. And plus, if you're nice looking, obviously, you can get into anywhere anyway. And that still stands today, like, which
Yeah.
is a bad thing, you know, like, but you know, it is what it is. If you have the looks, you can get in anywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
I always had to stand in the line and at the back of the line, so I don't know about all of that stuff. Yeah, like yeah, you move to the back. These people come up front, please.
so
Yeah,
you would see me walking by you then?
yeah. I would see you walking by, going, "Damn, I had her good looks, or at least her arm to drag her in."
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay,
But
so when I segued, I guess it was to answer your question, I had just replaced it with what was already there, what, you know, what I started with. And then I think too, soon after I moved back, I moved into Sherman Oaks with my dad. He was a police officer for Santa Monica at that point, because he had already retired from LA Sheriff's because he thought he was gonna not want police work, and then went back to it anyway. So when I moved in with him, when I moved in with him, that's when I met my ex-husband. And then because he wasn't big into that scene, we did do some stuff, but he and I both said, you know what? When we were dating too, he was like, and he was younger than me too, but very mature for his age. And he was like, you know what? Let's stop doing this because we're wasting all of our money, where it's not helping us in any way, and we want to start a family, right? And this is before we got married. This is when we got married in 8 months anyway, Daryl, by the way. We met, fell in love, got married within 8 months. And because I had a partner, which was him, saying, you know what, let's don't do this, we both were like, okay. And we didn't, we stopped.
oh, that's cool.
Mhm.
I'm glad that you were able to do that. You know, just because you chose to. It's not the way most people get to get out of it. So, how did you become an actress? I mean, obviously your family was deep in it
Mhm.
and you grew up in Hollywood, so the transition isn't abnormal, but to go from where you came from in the party lifestyle,
Mhm.
stepping out of it, and then to step back into it knowing what you knew about it,
Mhm.
like that seems like a interesting choice
Oh, you
of
mean now?
direction. whenever,
Yeah.
I mean, you know the lifestyle, you know the pitfalls, and yet you
Oh, but
chose,
for me, Daryl, those
yeah.
pitfalls are for me, it's not even a pitfall. Like, from that was back, that was that chapter. That was my part of my life then. That's not even like for now. Remember, I said I do smoke weed now. That's all I would even want to do. I like even when I see people on TV or hear someone in their 40s doing coke, I'm like, how do you do that without your heart exploding? I wouldn't even want to do that. Like I'm into health and fitness. I do my yoga. Sorry, calm down. I know you want my attention, baby. She's so cute. So because of my lifestyle and my beliefs about my own body, I just not even a pitfall. That's not even a concern. The reason I love acting is because when I've been behind the camera too. I was a production assistant, a production coordinator for a TV web series. I love having an idea and then putting the pieces together to make something that you see and that I'm proud of. So for me, acting's not a pitfall. It's not even about there. I wouldn't even go in. That's not even a lifestyle for me. What I like about it is just the creative aspect of it, having a vision, and then as an actor, putting forth someone else's vision that they created in their mind, and then making it something real. So that's the draw for me for that.
So my background or my major is in psychology. That's what my degree is in. And I'm fascinated by the human mind, and I love how the mind works. And, I have to honestly say, in the many years that I've been studying people and doing coaching and all the things that I do, you are one of the most fascinating studies of the mind because you don't follow the norm of, I grew up on the streets of LA. You would expect that would be where your start into this seedy side is. You were in the seedy side for a little bit, and then you just decided, I don't want to be there anymore, and left it. And then knowing everything that, I mean, your family background, what you were immersed in, all that, knowing that that is still viable and in that industry, you're like, it doesn't even bother me. I can still be around it and be in there. Like, that is such a unique mindset
Is
because
it?
yes, because well, you wouldn't know because you're living it. So it's normal to you, but it is a unique mindset because it's a conscious choice every day on your part what you will or won't take part in. It was a conscious choice as a child to stay away from it. It was a conscious choice as a rebellious teenager to get involved in it. It was a conscious choice as a early 20s to get out of it. And it's a conscious choice, whatever degree you went back to it, to say, I know that's part of the industry, but I'm not going to let it touch me. And you've walled it all off so that all of those still fit what you want to do. The creativity, the podcasting, the acting, the horse and animal lover, all of that stuff. You said you're into health and fitness now, and into wellness, you're a vegan.
Uh-huh.
All of that stuff is conscious choices that you've made for the boundaries of your life. And most people don't operate on that level. They subconsciously flow from one thing to another. They let life around them dictate where they are. But you have made conscious effort choices to compartmentalize all of that. And that's why it's fascinating, because it is unique. And you have this exuberance and this energy within you that just bubbles on through you. And some of that is innate, but some of it is just because of the joy you have found in the passion you live your life with.
Oh, I love that. I love that because like when I was younger too, there were some people, if they just don't know me really well, they'll think that this is a facade or this is fake. Because I had that as growing up as a kid, like she's fake. That's not even her real personality, but it is. I feel like, how we're all, this is my opinion, we're all spirit, we're all interconnected, we all are vibration and energy. I just choose to have this is the human force that I came in. I didn't choose to look like this. I didn't choose my body, but I did choose to come in as a human But other than that, other than this human thing, that this shell on the outside, we're all the same. We're all the same energy. Everybody can do what I've done, but you just have to be focused. It's not that I'm continuously throughout the day, I monitor my feelings. Like if I'm feeling a certain way, this is now though, I'm not saying I always did it, but now it's more like if I'm feeling anxiety, I know now, okay, just breathe. Remember I was telling you, I just breathe, or I'll do like, that's the sound of the earth, one of the first sounds. So I have like lots of bags of tricks, and I just use them all the time. And I think, and so I can consciously be living my life, not letting my life live me and just like whatever momentum is, just going with it. I'm just focused. I don't want to say more than anyone. It's just, if you focus more on your feelings and how you feel a certain way, then you can feel a little bit more happy or light more often.
But that's what I'm talking about. That's what makes you unique and special, because most individuals let life live them and they don't live their life. They may have lived, you're 60, I'm 59. They may have lived 60 years, but they didn't live I heard someone ask this once and it really stuck with me. You're 60 years old. Did you live 60 of the same years, or did you use 60 years of life? And there's a difference, because most people live 60 years of the same life every year. Very few of us live 60 years of life. And you're a horse enthusiast. You have taken the bridle and you have rode that horse as hard as you can, as often as you want, and you still enjoy riding it.
Mhm.
That's living life. And I don't care about the ups and downs and all the dark and all the light, because we're all shadow, we're all dark, we're all light. We all have traumas, we all have trials, we all have things that we've navigated through. But to come out the other side and still be bright as you are, that's a conscious choice. And that's a
Yes.
life that is worth knowing and living.
Oh,
And that's why I think it's so fascinating.
thank
You
you.
have so much life, we could do a whole week's worth of podcasts and not get that hardly any of it, right?
Yes.
So I want to acknowledge the fact that what you're doing is unique and it is a conscious choice. And one of the things I wrote down, because I always title the episode and I write a little blurb so that it introduces, the content of the episode to the audience as they listen to it. And one of the things I wrote down for you, and you probably won't agree with this, but what I wrote down is I survived LA, because you didn't fall into the pitfalls of growing up in LA. And I know that you could go back to your old neighborhood and find people who did
Mhm.
not survive. And I know
Exactly.
you know people who not only did not survive metaphorically, but did not survive physically.
And that's what, the point that you're making is very apropos, because remember how I mentioned my first boyfriend, Eric Spiker. He didn't make it because I think it was, I'm trying to think, 2012 or 13. I was thinking, you know what? And I did revisit him like in the 90s. I was separated. So I was like, oh, let me check on Eric. So I had checked on him. We went out one time, but that's a whole nother dating story that I have to tell you. That's a whole nother ball of wax. But anyway, so then in 2013, I was just, thinking, I wonder what's happened to him. So I Googled him, and Mike, the friend that I told you that when we were CrossFit, Mike was there too. That was his best friend. Mike had posted, because someone else had asked, I wonder what's going on with Eric Spiker. And then Mike wrote in that thread, oh, he passed away. He was found dead in his car in the parking lot in CVS.
And I
So
don't think he was buying at Allegra.
no, because he wasn't even that old then.
Right.
Mhm.
So
So you're correct in saying that.
yes. And again, it was because you made conscious choices of avoiding it and
But
to turn your life,
okay.
but you've turned your life into joy and happiness. And I don't know how anyone can be around you and not have some of that rub off.
No,
Like,
you.
I feel that there's this exuberance and this energy about you that you, because you are a spiritual being and you live your life with that, it's why it resonates with me. You know, my wife is a Reiki master and a healer,
I
and you
love
know, she's
that.
energy centered person. But
So am I,
it,
just like her.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
it resonates and it vibrates on that level. So I totally understand and appreciate that. What is and we have many stories that we could share, and we'll have to get on and do another podcast some other time. But what is in store for your future now? I know you're getting ready to move. Um, but
Yet
what's
another adventure. Yet another adventure, Daryl. Yes.
can
Another
I
adventure.
can I mention your almost bachelor
Yes,
episode?
yes. You can mention that because the only thing that they say, because I had to sign an NDA, but that's only they don't want you to let people know about the process or what goes on. So yeah, I can say that.
So again, being one of those beautiful people who get to go to the front of the line, you actually were cast for an episode or a season of The Bachelor. You were going to be one of the bachelorettes,
Mhm.
correct?
Yes. So I wasn't fully cast. I got to the final casting process because this I can share that it's like a 3-month process. And you have to meet with the first, you have to get past the initial casting phone call. Then you get to do the casting. One moment. Can you pause for a second?
Yeah. Let me put this on pause again.
Okay, now I'm back. I just didn't
Oh,
want just letting me know I have to feed the horses, but we're good because that's just
yeah.
to let me know. And so I was saying about the Golden Bachelor. So, and then you have some time that you have to meet like the Bravo producers and all of those. And so, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful, fun experience. I loved it, actually. I loved it. It was just great because you also get to learn about yourself because you have to answer questions and just dig deep. And so, yes, I made it to like the last finalist, like where they have about when you go through the whole process, then the casting director let me know that I was chosen over 70,000 other applicants, which made me feel really great, but yet I wasn't chosen. That didn't feel great. But it
Yeah.
was based on the bachelor that they then decided to go on, the Golden Bachelor. Like, for example, he gets to also choose, what type of person is on his wish list. I don't play pickleball, but I'm going to go this Friday because I want to learn. So I'm going to go this Friday, but not because of that. Now, my older sister, I just saw her on my birthday weekend and she was like, I started playing pickleball with her husband. She was telling me that. And I was like, oh, learn. So I'm going to go do that. But some of the things, and what if he doesn't like someone that smokes marijuana, and so because you do have to do like the drug test, you do like a full physical, so everything, and you tell them ahead of time all the things that you think that they're going to find. And I did tell the truth, I do smoke weed. And so that's not an issue. That doesn't count me out. It just counts out, like, say that Golden Bachelor, like one of the things that he didn't want to date was, somebody that smoked weed or didn't play pickleball. So at least I made it to the last final 40 or so before they narrowed it down to that 25. So that's a complete honor. And
So
yeah,
I'm gonna jump in just for a second because again, I'm fascinated by it. There's no doubt that you're a beautiful woman. There's no doubt being an actress, a model,
realtor.
all the things that realtor. Yeah, you don't have to be beautiful to be a realtor. I've met some pretty ugly realtors, having done it for 7 years myself. So I'm not gonna I'm gonna leave realtor out of there. But you definitely don't look like you're 60. You could be on the regular Bachelor. You don't have to be on the Golden
Thank
Bachelor.
you.
But my question, how does a beautiful, vibrant, outgoing woman want to share a house with 40 other women fighting for the attention of one jerk who may or may not give them a rose? Why do you want to do that?
Why did I want to? I
Would
actually
you have married him?
Okay, for all transparency, probably not that particular Golden Bachelor. We didn't have enough in common. Like when I did see the actual show, there wasn't enough in common. And actually, at the time, Daryl, I was 59, and they were letting me go on because, or even in the field, because they liked my personality, they liked how I showed up. But he was older. I think, what is he? He might be early 70s maybe. So their cutoff time, he probably didn't want to date lower than 60 or something like that. So I don't think it would have been him. But the reason I did go on, because I knew that, say I did go on, my hope is that maybe an eligible bachelor would see me, because I am single and I haven't found love. And so I thought, my thinking was, even if I didn't score him, somebody was going to see me, and that way I can get in alignment with my person. Because I'm
See,
still
and
looking,
this
I'm
is the
waiting for my
problem but I'm sorry to talk over you, but this is the problem I have with these type of shows. And I don't care if it's Married at First Sight, if it's The Bachelor, The Golden Bachelor, The Bachelorette, Love Island, MILF Island,
You know,
whatever.
though, Daryl, you must watch them.
Well, I have a wife.
Okay. I like her. She's like me. I
and
watch those too.
and I can also scroll the feed on what they all say. But and they're all over social media. However, what I have a problem with is there are so many that go onto that show or those shows to be seen and not to actually go through the process. Like I do watch Married at First Sight
Me too.
because my wife hooked me on it, and but I like, again, it's a psychology thing for me. I like the process. But what I get furious about, these people, they get together and
Mhm.
then it's Married at First Sight. You're supposed to marry this person, right? And then on the honeymoon or on the month after or whatever, I'm not going to kiss you. I'm not going to sleep with you. You've been in the bar 3 weeks prior to the show, banging whoever was serving you drinks, and now you're not going to kiss the guy you're supposed to be on the show to marry? I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. Follow the process. That's why I asked you the question. Would you have married the bachelor if he'd have been the right bachelor for you to be on the show?
A
Would you have?
100%, 100%. But and the reason I can say that for me is the thing that I've noticed about those shows, Daryl, is the whole process is speeded up. So you do get to see the red flags sooner. You do get to see if your personality is going to mesh quicker than you normally would. Like, you know how normally it takes 3 months for the real person's personality to come out. You can't fake it for you can't fake it for longer than 3 months at a time.
Mhm.
Until your real personality is going to come through. But in these processes, they speed it all up. You're in such close quarters. You find out everything. So I feel like if I did meet that person and there was that connection, I 100% would continue on. I would get engaged. And sometimes you don't have to get married right away. You just get engaged even on the Golden Bachelor or the Bachelor. You can say yes and then give yourself, some time to get to know that person and still continue on. So I 100% would, yes.
Well, good for you. And if they ask you again, you'll go on and find the right guy. But I think you'll find love well before then. And I
I
asked you
hope so,
earlier.
Carol, because I have been looking. It's like people always say you're 60 and you haven't, and it's not like I haven't been putting myself out there. I'm on the dating websites. Well, not so active now because being at this job of the real estate, it's like I'm so busy and getting into acting. I don't even have time to even go on the dating websites anymore. But I was on them. And and I do go on dates. I give people a chance. I just haven't, the right one hasn't come. And that's a whole nother dating show. So I can let you know about how those fiascos.
And so what
That's
is
a
Laura
whole,
looking for? What is Laura look? Let's find you a match here on my show. What is Laura looking for in a man? What's your ideal man?
like good personality, light and happy like me, loves animals and horses. And even if they have to have a love of the animals. They don't have to have them themselves or be a horse person, but be open and kind to animals. I can't be with someone that treats animals like they're less than, because I feel like they're beings of light just like us. They're just in another form. So
Yeah.
they don't even have to have my same spiritual beliefs or religious beliefs, but they do I would like them to have a connection to a higher source of some sort. I feel it would be hard to date someone that's an atheist or that just had no connection, not because I'm going to judge them, because I feel like everybody has their own path, their own life, their own beliefs, and they have nothing to do with mine. But for my group or inner circle, they would have to have a connection or a feeling of love to something, some connection to somewhere. So, and any race, I'm open to any race. I love height though, I'm 5'9". So just before I used to be, you have to be really tall. I've dated actually, his name is Sean Brooks, and he played for the Lakers, and he's probably like what, 6'11" maybe. I loved that because he was really tall. But you don't have to be that tall. You don't have to be in 6'11". Just be
5'9.5".
Just a little taller. Now that I'm older, I'm like, okay, I don't want to discount someone because of their height, because that's your outer self. But
well, you can do lifts like Tom Cruise does.
Exactly.
He's 5'2", but he looks like he's 5'6".
So, I want financially stable, obviously. There has to be that physical attraction. So it doesn't have to be what everybody's ideal of attraction is or attractiveness, but mine, you have to appeal to me, obviously.
Yeah.
And healthy, like somebody that they don't have to be a vegetarian or vegan. Like they could be a meat eater, but just do it in healthy quantities.
Right. Yeah. Well, we will get some viewer out there to dial up your number. But you are in the process of a move.
Yes.
So what's on the horizon for you as you're moving?
So on the horizon now is selling my ranch house here, the one in Buckeye. I have like a little ranch house, and so that's listed now. So it's on the market. So as soon as we can close escrow on this one, I'm going to be moving all the way to the East Coast. And I mentioned my two choices are North Carolina and Pennsylvania. They're both very different, but they're still my top two choices. But Pennsylvania is edging it out a bit. So it's probably going to be Pennsylvania. And I hope to be there, by the end of July. That's my goal to actually.
So before this airs, by the time this airs, you will have been in Pennsylvania and you're setting up your new life.
Exactly.
Are you going to stay with real estate out there, or are you going to
Yes.
do something
And
else?
all of it,
Okay.
all of it. I'm going to stay with real estate because I actually can do that without getting my license in Pennsylvania and still work at the company that I work with now, Landmark Carbon Solutions, as a dispositions manager. So I don't have to have an active license in that state. And then I'm choosing Pennsylvania because I'll be close to New York. I'll be close, and they have productions there. And so I want to just get more into the acting, get more into the modeling, and just enjoy life. Mm-hmm.
So when my wife and I come and visit New York, we're going to see Laura on Broadway or off Broadway.
I don't even want to say no because I was thinking more like acting, like commercial acting, but then somebody offered me to cast for like an actual acting part. And so I just have to send in that, like where I actually have lines as a mother. So I'm like, you never know. I'm
A
not going to say
mother.
no.
A mother. You're not old enough to be starting to get the roles of a mother. A young mother, maybe.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
you never know because it's more about for me. Like one of my opportunities was to be a what is the host when you're the QVC, and I feel like that would be great for me because I love that sort of thing. I love shopping, I love clothes, I love jewelry, and I feel like I could tell a story with each piece.
And
So
you
that's
can take down Lisa Rinna in a heartbeat.
you watch the Beverly Hills Housewives, huh?
You know, I said I got a wife. It's right here. Sometimes it's sports and sometimes it's not. We don't have to fight for the remote. I just have to sit and enjoy so she'll enjoy mine.
And then also too, what I want you and your wife to do is visit me on whatever the little ranches I have. Are you around animals at all or horses at all? You guys?
My wife is the biggest tree hugging animal lover in the world.
Oh
We
my.
have we have we have birds that have decided to nest on our inner pole,
Yeah.
and she'll stand there and commune with them verbally or non-verbally. And I'm like, just get off my damn thing. You're crapping all over the place. Horses, I love, but if it is an animal, she's the tree hugging lover of it. And we can't even kill the spider. I got to put a cup on it, slide the
And
thing
take it
over,
out.
take it outside. It's
I
like,
love your wife. I love her.
yeah,
And I tell people too, I literally, you know, you can say you're a tree hugger. I literally do hug the trees. I
so's my
literally
wife.
like
I got
talk.
pictures to prove it. Yeah,
Yes, see, you're right. I'm
yeah,
so much like her. I literally talk to the trees.
yeah,
Some birds, like when I feed my horses, there's literally some birds that I have that I feed, but they're not mine. I said that I have that they're not mine. I
yeah, yeah,
feed them sunflower seeds too, dry, like roasted
yeah.
seeds.
They're yours.
Yeah.
Don't kid yourself. They're
So
yours.
they come when I'm feeding the horses because they
Yeah,
know it's their
because they're
turn.
gonna get fed. You're feeding your
Exactly.
birds, of course. They're not dumb. I mean, seriously, yeah. You and my wife are just years different from each other. Yeah.
She'll be so happy when when you get to tell her she gets to come to Pennsylvania to visit the ranch.
Yes,
And it's
she
called
would.
Lorenity. It'll be Lorenity Ranch. That's the name of wherever my horses and I go. Lorenity Ranch. That's what it is. I
Well,
forgot.
she's going to be a fan favorite of visiting Lorenity Ranch. So my wife was born in the Azores, so she's Portuguese, and she was raised in Boston. They came to this country when she was 3. So she grew up in Boston, so melting pot like you did with LA, and so yeah, you guys are very
Does he
similar.
speak Portuguese still too?
Oh, that's all she speaks. I
Oh,
mean, not all, but
I love that, Daryl.
yeah.
She's so lucky. And you're lucky to be
She,
able to hear it.
well, I mean, her parents never learned how to speak English, so she always had to interpret for them. And then her entire family still speaks Portuguese. So, and I know when she's either mad or um, is talking about me because she'll go from English to Portuguese with her family, or the Bostonian will come out. Like she's been away from Boston for 25 years, but when she's mad, suddenly she's got a Boston accent. I'm like, she's just pissed. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
wait for you guys to visit.
Yeah. Send the address and we'll be there. So I love that. And so you had mentioned, and I want to kind of give this proper time as we're kind of
Winding down. Okay.
winding down, but as a horse enthusiast, and I know our mutual friend Jessica
Puccini, love her.
Lucchini, she rescued a horse. It's funny, her horse that she rescued, she was told that it's old and dying because it was abused and malnutritioned. And then she got it cleaned up, started feeding it again, and the vet actually said, "No, your horse is only 3 years old." Like, what? So, and then when she just recently moved to Spain and had to put it somewhere for someone else to enjoy. But I know that you're a horse enthusiast and you really want to have a horse sanctuary.
Yes.
Um, I have another friend who lives in Delaware and she does horse therapy. So
Oh,
she has a horse farm and brings people in to
wow.
have their therapy sessions with the horse. Is that something that you are going to do on your sanctuary, or is this just for the horses?
Nope, it's all of that because actually, when I moved to Buckeye here and I got this ranch, one of the things that I was creating it for was it's an equestrian Airbnb. And that's so like because I'm located on the 10 and near the 85. So there's a lot of traffic here. There's a lot of going to and from California, Mexico, all of that, right? So I figure a lot of people are going to be driving and they're going to be tired. They're going to want to have their horses get out and stretch their legs, stop for water. So I was creating an equestrian Airbnb here, as well as spiritual retreats, and equestrian based retreats to, so that people, my dream, even in Pennsylvania, is for people and children that are not normally around horses or donkeys, because I have the Q's donkey. I named her Jessie after Jessica, actually. So my donkey's name is Jessie girl. And so that's how much I love Jessica. But anyway, so I love, Daryl, when people come to my branch and they haven't touched a dog or, I mean, a horse or a donkey before in their whole lives. And I want that I like to help them to see that they're not as scary as they look. And when you're around them, Daryl, they give you so much peace. I don't even know what it is. They're magical. They really are.
Yeah.
And this is the donkey as well.
Yeah.
She gives me peace. She gives me calm. If I'm having a stressful day, I can just go out there. I can even be stressful thinking, oh, you know, I'm tired. I don't even feel like going out here right now. But once I get out there, all that disappears. I'm no longer tired. And it's a lot of work, but for me, it's not work because it comes from love. I love like cleaning their poop out of the way, because then to me, now your place is going to be clean. They're not going to have the flies. And I consider their stalls their apartments. So I feel like I want your apartment to be clean for you. And so it's not a chore. And I like feeding. And when I mentioned that I don't actually have an exercise routine, that's probably the exercise routine, because it's daily. It's, you know, morning and night. It's at least 35 minutes to an hour, depending on which day I'm doing it, and how much is out there to clean. So I'm always very active. And so that's
mucking a stall is not easy. That's hard work.
especially when it
So
rains, that's the worst.
yeah, well, the fact that you have that, and again, it talks about the beauty that you are and the light that you are. So thank you for, you know, sharing some of that today. And you know, I just love the direction you're going. Down the road, when you get settled in Pennsylvania, we'll definitely come visit you, but also we'll have to do a part two just to pick up some of the pieces and move it further down the line, because there's so much to unpack for you. And I just love your exuberance and your story, and I've just enjoyed this time with you today. So thank you for sharing it, and you know, you're welcome anytime. Oh, you
Yeah,
are
my podcast. You're welcome on
yeah,
my podcast. I created, before we go, I created
right.
a podcast. And the reason I created it in the first place, it was first to show, it was going to be to help people to learn about horses, my connection to horses, because I don't even ride my horses. I'm getting ready to start, but I feel like the bond to the horse is more important than me on its back. That's second. And so I wanted to create a podcast just so that I can help people at first with horse things, and, you know, just to be uplifting and to share some of the modalities in my toolkit that helps me to focus or to pivot when I'm feeling sad. And then just doing that, I brought my cousin Azia, and she is a healer. She's an esthetician. She's very spiritual. And then in bringing her in, of course, I started thinking about, okay, Jessica. Jessica has so much to bring to the table too. Her age group is different than my cousin and I. She's been married. So she's going to bring a lot of tips about that, and her energy, as you know, is just awesome and amazing. She's so creative. So with the three of us, we come together with like fun stories, helpful stories, advice, health advice from Azia, just all sorts of things. So, and uplifting. So it's about uplifting, fun, and power and magic. That's what that podcast is about.
And what's its name?
At the moment, it's Dirt Rich, but that's the working title. Because a few days ago, I decided, and Daryl, as you know, from moment to moment, we evolve. And so at this point in time, I wasn't in alignment anymore with that title. So it's going to now be something like The Magic of Life, or something that encompasses more about the magical spiritual side of me, because I'm probably like 90% spiritual and magic.
Well, we'll drop a link to it. So when this episode airs, people will be able to reach out and find you, any of your other social connections. So those guys that want to get your number will be able to find you.
They can find me on Lorenity right now. Over my Facebook and Instagram is under Lorenity Ranch. So they can find me that way. It's my name plus Serenity. Laura plus Serenity is Lorenity.
We love it. And we will definitely drop links to all that. So I'm going to ask you one last question that I ask every one of my guests. What does a warrior spirit, or having a warrior spirit, mean to Laura?
Okay, I had to do a deep breath. So can we pause
Your first one of your day.
Like, can I pause it so I can let RC out? I'm going to open her.
Yeah. Okay. So dogs are all taken care of. So now take your deep breath. And what does a warrior spirit or having a warrior spirit mean to you?
Never giving up. Never giving up hope. I feel like I've had so many wonderful experiences in my life, so many. And then I've also had, you know, the not so wonderful experiences. And I have never given up hope. I've always kept my connection with source. And I think that's a major part of it too. I always know that there's something out there that does love me and is watching and is helping, you know, so I'm never alone. And I also feel that, you know, my dad and my mom and my stepdad, Tommy, all of those have just recently transitioned in the last 3 years. And I feel they're still around me. So I feel like for me, having the warrior spirit is always keeping hope alive so that I never give up, and I never have. And then I feel that for other people. I want to help others to know that you're not going to give up. So part of being a warrior is helping others to keep their light shining.
Absolutely. And I think that you embody all of that. And I'm just so glad that we are now connected and look forward to you and my wife connecting
Me too.
and having you know, a continued bond moving forward. So thank you for sharing part one of your story. Down the road, we'll come together for part two, and just love what you're doing and what you're about. And I just appreciate, you know, your time today. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you, Daryl.
All righty. Have a great rest of your night.
You too.